Mercury's final retrograde of 2024 is already here and begun. There's lots to cover today, so let's get right into it. Welcome to Mystic Light Warriors. I'm a divinely guided intuitive here to help you follow your own intuitions and maybe pass on a message or two you might need to hear. So I've taken notes down. We are in Mercury retrograde, and that's famous for miscommunication. So let's not have any miscommunications and let's not miss anything. So this retrograde started on the 25th, but it continues all the way to the 15th of December. Now, this one is in Sagittarius, which brings in a new season for learning, as well as exploring your passions. So it's also a very super potent retrograde, and I'll explain why. So make sure you stay to the end of this video so you get all the tips that I've prepared for you and the little bonus, okay? Now, Mercury's an archetype energy, so it's about sacred wisdom and the mind. Now, it's in Sagittarius, which is expansive and benevolent energy, and it's literally every aspect of personal growth, okay? That is also, to top it off, being squared with Saturn, which is being squared not once, not twice, but 3 times by Mercury, once during each phase of the retrograde. So once pre-shadow, once shadow, and once post. Now, Saturn's the Lord of Karma. It's tough, but it's tough love. So it wants your very highest good. It wants what's best for you, and it makes things happen. But that's why it uses tough love. So we finish this week off with a new moon on the 30th, which will bring in understanding of what we can and cannot begin. Okay? Now, be ready this week for spiritual downloads, ancestor messages, messages from your higher self. They will show you what you're meant to learn, where you're supposed to expand, and lessons to be learned, because we know we all have lessons to learn in this lifetime. These are also big, deep changes, karmic even, not surface. So huge changes possible if you can attune into these energies. And again, at the end of this video, I've got a few tips for you for that. Okay, so let's get into it. Number 1, be fully present. Practice active listening. Use honesty and empathy when dealing with other people to avoid miscommunication. We know Mercury retrograde is a fun time for a lot of people. So just make sure you're taking that into consideration when dealing with others. And if you're a person that might get triggered, maybe limit the amount of time you spend with big crowds. That might make it a little trickier, right? Number 2, seek clarity. We know, again, miscommunication. There can be tech issues. There can be travel issues. There can be all sorts of issues with Mercury retrograde. So do your due diligence. This week, take note. Think about limits and boundaries and the structures you need to stay within. Is it just a hype? Do your due diligence and find out the facts and the details first. Number 3, if you can, wait to make plans. Now, that's not always possible, especially with the holidays coming up. So if you can't wait until retrograde is over to make plans, then just remember number 2, due diligence, okay? Super important. Double and triple check your details. Make contingency plans ahead of time so that if something happens, you are covered and there's no stress or worry or anything like that. Don't subscribe to that because you'll just attract more of it. So let's say you do your due diligence. You've got contingency plans. You've done everything. You've triple and quadruple checked everything, and it still doesn't work out. Let it go. Just accept it and let it go. Because if you fight it, you're just going to attract more of that, and nobody wants that. So go with the flow. Just let it be, okay? Be flexible here. Now, number 4 is to open up to the Mercury retrograde. After all, it is the conduit to your higher self. So don't be afraid of Mercury retrograde. Yeah, it might make things a little bit interesting, as Master Shri would say. It's still there to serve a higher good and your highest good, right? So accept it and love it for that. Now, number 5 is my favorite. Number 5 is the 5 R's of retrograde. Review, reflect, revisit, rethink, and readjust. Retrograde is all about all of these things. We are looking at the journey we're on. We're looking at the steps we're on. We're going back into past things, and they're coming up from the past to teach us lessons, to help us see things that we maybe didn't see the first time around. So embrace that and use it to your benefit. Now, finally, practices. Okay, so kept this really, really simple. First of all, journal. obviously. We know journaling is helpful, but especially during a Mercury retrograde when things can be a little bit, journaling can help you to connect dots and see things that you might not have seen the first time around. Just like things coming back up, sometimes we need a beat or two for it to digest before we're like, oh, hey, wait a minute. I didn't think of it like that, right? So journal. Also meditate. Meditation is key during retrograde, partly because it's helping you to connect to your inner self and your higher self. This is where the answers are. They're within, and we know this. So meditation during this time can be very, very powerful and very, very transformative. And if meditation isn't your thing, whatever practice you use to get in touch with your inner self, your higher self, that's what you do. Whatever practice that is, it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, that's going to work perfectly. And finally, dream journal. So if you are a person that has lots of dreams, vivid dreams, especially if you're having nightmares right now, our dreams can get a little crazy during retrograde. So if you're having dreams, make sure you keep a dream journal. Write down whatever you remember when you wake up, and then you can go back and you can connect dots in the messages in the dreams and figure out what they're trying to say. Okay, so hope that helps. If you like the content in this video, please like and subscribe, and happy retrograde.